Welcome to the stream. How is everyone doing tonight? It's a Monday. Did it feel very Monday for you today? I know I've had a crazy day. I started my day very early today, got on the road and drove basically 5 hours plus down to Kansas City. And I've been working. Thankfully, on my way down here, I had the chance to listen to a very important update from Eli Lilly, who participated in the Cowen's 43rd Annual Health Conference. And I've got the recap for you. And these have become a very fun part of the channel, doing these recaps of these calls. I feel like with each call that comes out, there's less and less news breaking, but there's just as much information to cover. So I've got my notes all set up for everyone, and we're going to go through them. But before we do, would you, in the chat, can you hear me in the chat? Can you hear me? Would you mind hitting that like button so that this gets shared throughout the community? Appreciate each and every one of you. Sue, BJ, Mrs. Bell, Alma, Melissa, Dink Donk. Thank you all for joining. Kathy, welcome to the stream. Appreciate you all. So yeah, I appreciate each and every one of you. As I say on all of these live streams, you are the best part of what I do. And I so look forward to these lives. These are definitely my favorite part of the channel, is doing these live streams with you all. You're just so enjoyable, each and every one of you. Thank you. Specific shout out to the members of the channel, those of you who have become members and given back to the stream in that way. Sue, YouTube, Melissa H are two that are in the stream currently that I see that are members. So I appreciate you for becoming members of the channel. So yeah, should we get into it? Or should we exchange some more pleasantries? I think we'll get right into it, because on these replays, all the feedback that I ever get is get to the point. So we'll get to the point. The main point that I want to get to right off the bat is the stuff that was covered that was not news, not breaking news. So this may be new information to some of you who haven't followed the channel. Tish, welcome. But just because you didn't catch those, I don't want you to miss it. I do want you, if you haven't watched the Lilly news call recaps before, I have a specific playlist set up. You can go back and get way more detailed information on the things I'm about to cover right at the top, if you want a deeper dive into some of these topics. So the things that were covered that are not news that we're just going to gloss over, that you can go back to the other ones and find more information on, is Eli Lilly's reinstated support for TROA, which is the Treat and Reduce Obesity Act. And so they just expressed their continued support for that. They talked again about there's 110 million people in the United States who are clinically obese, over 650 million people globally, and how they see that shaping the market for these incretin medicines over the next 10 years. They talked about Mounjaro supply chain issues. So we've talked about that on previous streams. We beat it into the ground. They've got factories going up. They expect to increase their production output by 50% by the end of the year. So, all good things headed in that direction, but we covered those more extensively on other topics or on other videos that we've done. I want to say a special welcome to the stream to Abby Morrison, who is celebrating her birthday today. So give Abby a happy birthday shout out in the comments. Happy birthday, Abby. On People on Mounjaro, so they covered this again. People who are on Mounjaro, 65% of the users had been on other GLP or other diabetes treatments previously. That means roughly 35% hadn't, and they see that as a big growth space for the future of the drug. And another thing that they mentioned is that they didn't expect the viral nature of Mounjaro to be quite so large, and it was. I'm not sure how they couldn't have expected that. I think they did, but maybe not to the level that it did explode. They talked about retatrutide a little bit, which, retatrutide is one of my favorite topics on this channel to discuss. And unfortunately for me, the last couple of updates that Lilly's done has offered very little in the retatrutide updates. But one of the things they did talk about was how there have been other glucagon receptor agonists from other drug manufacturers that have been discontinued because of issues with high heart rate. So they got into that and like, hey, does Lilly see this as a issue with that drug moving forward? And again, their response is, we wouldn't have moved it to phase 3 trials if we wouldn't have felt like we got the ratios and everything right on this. So kind of a no-brainer. I should pause it and just say also that the Cowen's Summit, I did do a short on this, so if you missed that, just for context, Cowen's is like a health summit that was started by a doctor, like a holistic internal medicine doctor 43 years ago, and it was recently purchased by TD Ameritrade, so they've folded into their kind of portfolio of medical advancement, industry forefront of information type of thing. And so that was the conference that Lilly participated in, among other drug manufacturers. They talked a little bit about accessibility. Again, this is not a new topic, but they expect that accessibility will continue to be a big issue moving forward. But they did touch on Novo Nordisk's research that says that about 50% of employers currently in the United States have obesity coverage as of current. And so they see that as really positive. And they did also touch on people's continued advocacy for themselves, both with their employers and for things like TROA, and special plug for BJ Davis's change.org petition to kind of bring more awareness to the TROA legislation and put pressure on our legislators to add that to Medicare, add obesity coverage to Medicare, which will ultimately cause the private sector to follow as well. And we've covered that also extensively on this channel, so we won't spend a lot of time on that tonight. So that's a recap of what they covered that wasn't new news, but if any of that is of interest to you, definitely go back, check out the playlist that I have of all of, I think it's called like Eli Lilly news updates. Those are what you for sure want to check out. I'm going to check out some of the chat here. Let's see here. Am I the only one getting an error message saying something went wrong? Sometimes I get those on live chat. Hopefully nothing's going wrong with the live chat. Seems to be popping here. Adrian, sorry that you're having issues. Melissa, looking Cali blonde in this light. I really am. It's very bright. I did get a new light that I'm using, and it does have me looking very blonde. So hey, and I also look sunburnt. So there's that. I can assure you I have not been in the sun, nor am I really blonde. But hey, I'll take it. That's what good lighting does. That's the magic of good lighting. Bathroom light creeping in is very flattering. Sue, you're so awesome. Holiday Inn Express glow. That's right, the beautiful mirror glow. Yeah, I mean, nothing gets you glowing like a good hotel room. I walked in tonight and I was like, hotel, sweet hotel. You gotta love it. Themby, welcome to the channel. I don't know that I recognize that name. So if this is your first time here, welcome. If it's not, sorry I missed you before. I heard Wegovy is now on the Medicaid formulary. It's only a matter of time. Yeah, that's awesome. I can't validate that, but I'm sure other people could here in the chat. Hey, you want to know some breaking Wegovy news? Is anybody interested in some breaking Wegovy news? I don't know how much you all follow Wegovy or semaglutide, but many of you in this chat even have either been on semaglutide, which is the active ingredient in Wegovy and Ozempic, or you've been forced to get off the moon and get on to something like semaglutide. Anyway, there is a clinical trial currently in phase 3 testing the 7.5 milligram dose of Wegovy. Now, that's a massive step up. Recently, we were doing a live stream and we were talking with my cousin Chrissy, who's recently started Wegovy, and we talked about what the different dosages that were available. And really, the current dosage of Wegovy is not that much higher than it is for Ozempic. Well, that's 2.4 for Wegovy is the highest. That's the ceiling. So you work yourself up to 2.4. They're testing 7.5 milligrams of semaglutide. So that will be very interesting to see how those trials shake out. Melissa H., who has been on Ozempic prior to this, says 7.5. That's too much. It's definitely, there's a titration schedule. Obviously, they aren't starting people on that. I think it said that the trials for that started in January and they finish in October. So, there's a titration period in there. We can do another live stream and cover that, but that's some breaking Wegovy news, at least new information to me that I thought I'd share with you. So you're at least getting some breaking news that's not Eli Lilly related for once. I'm a Eli Lilly fanboy. Let's see, you're gonna catch up. Dink Donk said there was a nasty write-up on the Daily Mail. Screw them. Screw the media. Cutie Pie, happy that you made it to the live too. Cutie Pie shared some really cool information a couple days ago in the Discord that there was a World Obesity Day, which was new information to me. That's something that I think we should definitely highlight on the channel next year. I put it into my calendar on my phone so that we can do a good stream on World Obesity Day and just learn how to educate our friends about this, right? So yeah, what happens if you OD on Wegovy, Themby? I don't want to know. Like, let's not try it. But with semaglutide, same as virtually all the GLP-1s, you worry about things like pancreatitis. I'm sure with super high levels of any GLP-1, you can start to get concerned about hypoglycemia, super low blood sugars, things like that. So yeah. All right. Well, we're going to jump into what was news on this Eli Lilly call or this Eli Lilly fireside chat at the Cowen's 43rd annual summit today. Because there was news, right? So the first thing I'm going to get into is the oral GLP. So there's Mounjaro news and then there's non-Mounjaro news. This is the only real non-Mounjaro news, and we'll get into that first so that we can focus on Mounjaro for the rest of the stream. So the first of all, I should have said first of all 13 minutes and 35 seconds ago, but the gentleman who was on this call on behalf of Lilly was like the Lilly head for diabetes treatment and research. I can't remember his name. I'll link him in the description. He was not the most dynamic of speakers. That just like the Mounjaro commercials left me wanting so much more enthusiasm, but I digress. If this guy here on YouTube who just worked a 14-hour day can come on and talk with more enthusiasm about a drug that your company made, there's a problem. But I'll get off my high horse there. So the oral GLP-1, which is in phase 3 trials for Eli Lilly, is called orforglipron. And I don't know that they mentioned it by name. They just called it the oral GLP. So what they covered generally was kind of the same as they've always said about orforglipron, and that it's an oral that is supposed to match the efficacy in weight loss and glucose control to GLP-1s. And they've always just said GLP-1s generically. They've never said what GLP-1s, but this guy specifically mentioned semaglutide as being the target. Now, there's other competitors talking at this conference, and they're out there. They're saying things like, well, we don't really think that they'll be able to hit that efficacy level. What the reality is that this year, Lilly decided that they were going to advance this into phase 3 trials. These trials are super, super expensive to run. Matter of fact, they talked a little bit more, touched on it at least, about how the Inflation Reduction Act is really hampering some advancements in these medications, and that's largely due to it's due to several factors, and we could do a special video on that. But the main thing being that the advancement of these medications has been hampered in some level by that legislation. So anyways, the competitors are there. They're saying that they're skeptical about it. They would not have advanced this and spent the extra money, considering all the other drugs that they have in the pipeline. They wouldn't have wasted that money on a phase 3 trial if they didn't think that it could match that efficacy. So that's where we're at. It's kind of a dumb question. There were several dumb questions asked, but I digress. So yeah, the oral GLP. So the new information there is basically that the benchmark for orforglipron is to match semaglutide, which is a weekly injectable. This will be an oral medication, and that will be the first time that is available. So the next thing on my list to get into is Mounjaro, the things on this call that affected Mounjaro specifically. But before we do that, the chat is lit. I have no mod tonight. I have nobody saying, hey, this is what's going on in the chat. So I'm just going to take a minute and catch up with all of you, or try to catch up with all of you. Let's see here. Dink Donk hates the Daily Mail. Yeah, it's such a bum rag. Cutie Pie talking about obesity awareness is awesome. I totally agree. We'll do more and more of it on this channel. Tom said prednisone and Mounjaro. I don't know what that means. Thembi, that's probably the equivalent of like 80 grams. So Thembi is going back to the 7.4 of semaglutide in clinical trials. So that's probably like the equivalent of 80 milligrams of Mounjaro, if my math is right. I don't know that you can apples to apples that with the different peptides. I don't know how you did that math, but if that's accurate, that's very impressive. Yeah, kind of a rhetorical question, she said, but there's always a dummy who thinks more is better. Yeah, I mean, more, it depends on what your desired outcome is, like the trials and weight loss for Mounjaro did definitely show that the higher end of the doses, like the 10 to the 15, definitely gave an added boost to the weight loss. So, I mean, at a certain point, more is better, and then a certain point, more is worse. And so what is that line? That's what they're trying to obviously determine in these clinical trials. Sue said the Daily Mail is the only way he keeps up with his daily dose of the Spice Girls. Absolutely. Scary, sporty, all the spices, really. I would like to have a sidebar with you, Sue, on how each and every one of the Spice Girls are doing. I worry about them. Semaglutide, Vanessa, welcome to the stream. I don't know if I saw you here earlier, said semaglutide oral is for type 2 diabetes, but is being prescribed for weight loss. Yeah, so semaglutide has an oral. It's called Rybelsus. But orforglipron is supposed to match the efficacy of the semaglutide injectables. So I'm not sure what the semaglutide oral in Rybelsus, how that fared compared to its injectable counterparts, but orforglipron is supposed to match the injectables. Sorry if I didn't say that earlier. Cutie Pie, why are they going with oral? Thought that wasn't as effective. So that was another conversation they had. Cutie Pie was a lot of the competitors of Lilly say, why are you bothering with that? There's no way they're going to be able to reach the efficacy level because of the bioavailability, which is something else we've talked about on the stream as well. I don't know. I really don't know the answer to to that. Obviously there's a market there. There's always going to be a market for people who prefer an oral medication to an injectable. There just is. Some people are just scared of needles. That's a real thing. And it's a real enough thing that Lilly is willing to put the dollars into the research for orforglipron. And again, they saw enough in the phase 1 and phase 2 trials to say, let's move this to phase 3 and get it to market. I really feel like they do probably have to answer something like a Rybelsus. They do have to give an option. Now, how big that market is compared to something like Mounjaro, like I feel like ultimately everybody's going to end up on Mounjaro. They talked about Trulicity in this call too. We haven't talked about it here. I didn't have it in my notes, but they talked about Trulicity and how ultimately, people will once Trulicity comes, naturally to its end of patent, people will likely be organically by their doctors pushed more towards something like a Mounjaro, or I think honestly at that point in time, Rattata. So, there's a natural progression of these medications. I think most people who aren't scared of a needle will end up on tirzepatide, whatever they end up calling it. Yeah, and Vanessa says, I wouldn't dismiss the oral semaglutide. When Wegovy was on back order, it was the only one available to get. Yeah, right. That unless you were buying compounded versions of semaglutide. First one sounds too much like prednisone. I hope they change it. So okay, so that's how I read it the first time, Sue. I thought that he had written prednisone, and so that's why I was struggling reading it. And did I miss what that was? Prednisone and Mounjaro. So I don't know what prednisone is. Somebody can enlighten me in the stream. I don't want to take too much longer going through these. Melissa said her stomach hurts thinking about that much semaglutide. Yeah. All right. So I feel somewhat caught up with the stream. I'll get back to the matter at hand, which is the Mounjaro news. So Trulicity is not Ozempic, Melissa. Just I have to stop and say that. I accidentally got 3 milligrams and realized it was Ozempic. Just sitting in the fridge. I don't know who said Trulicity is not Ozempic, or is Ozempic. I didn't say that, and if I did, I didn't mean it. So yeah. Anyway, I can't get distracted with the chat. I need Chrissy here to be like, Dave, focus. Although sometimes she pulls me off the rails just as hard. Cutie Pie, they did not talk about maintenance doses. To my recollection, they didn't talk about maintenance doses. If they did, it was brief and it wasn't enlightening. They have talked about maintenance doses in the previous call. So the previous update that I did, they were talking about maintenance doses, and they felt pretty darn confident that people were going to need to stay on these drugs to keep the weight off. So that's a big tell right there. Their trials are showing them people need to stay on the drugs to keep the weight off. People get hot and bothered about this topic, so I won't get into it tonight. But yeah, I don't know. They haven't gotten into any of the specifics about like what doses would be good for maintenance, that stuff. But these are more geared towards investors, and they just want to know that whether you're on the 2.5 for maintenance or you're on the 15, it actually costs the same. So they just want to make sure you still need to be on it. So Mounjaro, let's get into it. Dave, focus. So what was news? So I broke the news about Mounjaro down into basically 2-3 topics here. So the first one is, sorry, let me actually count these. 1, 2, 3, 4 topics. So the first topic is coverage for Medicare. So this is helpful news. They've kind of danced around this on other calls, but currently Mounjaro is it's not approved for weight loss. If it was approved for weight loss, it would not be available on Medicare because obesity treatment is not part of Medicare coverage. That's what the whole TROA thing is about. So The guy on the call was non-committal as to whether we would see Medicare approve that, because he's relying on Washington, D.C. So whether that happened in the next year or two, he was non-committal on hazarding a guess. But he did specifically, explicitly say, and this is new, explicitly saying this versus dancing around this. He said, the studies for sleep apnea and heart failure, which these are basically comorbidities with obesity, those treatments are moving forward, and those are kind of a back door into people who are on Medicare being able to get on Mounjaro, because those treatments would be covered under Medicare. So while you might not be able to get it for your obesity, if you have the comorbidity of heart failure or sleep apnea, presuming that the FDA approves these once their trials are completed, and I think they do have fast track on at least, maybe both of them, but I think the sleep apnea. Once those are approved, that's what he called differential access. So lawyers speak for another way around the fact that Medicare does not cover Mounjaro for type 2 diabetes or for weight loss currently. Even once it is, you have to wait on Washington to do it. But if you have sleep apnea or heart failure, then you're going to be able to kind of backdoor your way into a Mounjaro script. So that was new information. So Mounjaro for weight loss. Okay, so this is the breaking news. This is the breaking news that you all tuned in for, right? This is the major thing that came out of this call today. They actually talked about the weight loss branding for Mounjaro. Is a question that we've all had, is what will they call Mounjaro for weight loss? And a lot of us have hazarded guesses about whether they'll brand it separately or not. Well, they are. And the name of it is Boohoo Tide, because ain't nobody going to be able to get their hands on it. Psh. That joke was compliment of Sue YouTube. They did not say what weight loss for Mounjaro would be called, but they actually did talk about that topic. And when they talked about that topic, they talked about the fact that there is value in having tirzepatide branded under one brand name, but for different use cases, i.e. weight loss versus obesity. So what did they say? Or weight loss versus type 2 diabetes. So basically, there's efficiency in the manufacturing process to continue to brand tirzepatide as Mounjaro, whether somebody is getting it for diabetes or getting it for weight loss. So there's efficiency in manufacturing. Obviously, the same pens, the same labels, just from a productivity standpoint and an ability to crank these things out in mass quantities, there is benefit to manufacturing these things under the same brand name. Also, they touched on some efficiencies within the FDA itself and the red tape that exists within the FDA to get a medication approved, that there's perhaps some efficiencies there in branding them under the Mounjaro name. Now, just as a marketer, if I am looking at Mounjaro and I'm looking at the crazy amount of viral success this medication has done. Now, they didn't run an ad until I think the Super Bowl, and the ad sucked. They haven't had to market this thing at all, virtually. To put out another drug, or to put out tirzepatide under another brand name, Boohoo Tide or whatever you want to call it, is probably not going to be their best move, strictly from a marketing standpoint, because they can piggyback off the success of Mounjaro. People have already used it en masse, and they talked about this early on in the call, is trying to distinguish the people who have taken a diabetes medication before starting Mounjaro and people who haven't. They're like, so many of them are taking it for weight loss off label. So they already know, like, people are using it for weight loss. People are showing up to, work functions, they're showing up to church, they're showing up to dinner with friends they haven't seen in a while, and they're showing up 30-40 pounds lighter. They're already talking about it. This medication is viral. So to call it something else just means you got to make another medicine go viral, because most of these people don't know what tirzepatide is, but they've heard of Mounjaro. So that's my unsolicited advice from a marketing perspective. If I was a betting man, I would bet that it will probably not be called Boohoo Tide, even though they might as well. It'll probably be labeled under the brand name Mounjaro, but we'll see. We'll see how that kind of pans out. Thought it was interesting that they covered it. So we're going to pause again. I don't think that I can probably keep up with the whole chat here, but I can kind of go back. Sue, I hope your joke landed. We've been saving that one in our back pockets for like a month. What about the comorbidity of fatty liver disease? Hey, Cutie Pie, I'm getting there. Hang on. That's one of the things that I'm getting to. So fatty liver disease, or NASH, non-alcoholic stadiopathic hepatitis. I don't know. NASH is what I'm going to get to, which I think is not the same as fatty liver, but it's like the natural progression of fatty liver. So I'll get to that. Dave, early on the April Fools. Fun Dave Nat fact, my old man's birthday was on April Fools. But they can extend the patent by renaming it. Mel with the legal zinger. Nice. I didn't even hear him talk about that. But to my credit, this call, the connection of the call was terrible. Like, you would think with all the money that floats around at these things that they could get a stream that was at least as clear as my Holiday Inn Express Wi-Fi, right? I guess not. Vanessa, they do rebrand it. There may be a coupon, but not for $25. We'll see. TBD. Did anybody see my short about what they did with making insulin $35 for people? It was a short video, so I couldn't really add anything extra, but I was like, this is great. People going to get their insulin for $35 with this copay card. I should have added. And Lilly has a great track record with copay cards. Cutie Pie Mounjaro has an AD. I didn't even know this. Oh, an ad. Yeah, they do, and it sucks. It's terrible. Robert Cole, hey, welcome to the stream, man. Robert Cole has been a follower of the channel for a while. Robert's an awesome dude. Everyone is talking about it, has promoted it for them. So much word of mouth on this medication. It's ridiculous. God, we're all sound like crackheads for the Mounjaro. I've had that same thought so many times. Like, especially when you're like trying to get your fill, you're like on the phone, you're like, is my insurance going to come through? Or here's my coupon, it's going to work? Or that's how I feel. Vanessa, Dave, you should work for Eli Lilly and get their S together. I would love to work. Eli Lilly, I tagged him in a thing on Instagram, like, hey, I love you. Can we be friends? Boohoo Tide. I saw my first Mounjaro on CNBC today. Sue, awesome. Sue, you like to keep up with the CNBC. I think we should all go work for Lilly for sure. We already are, and they're not paying us. That's the problem. We should ask Lilly to pay us because we're already working for them. They're the ones that sit in their room and they're boardrooms, and they're like, this man on the Mounjaro has dedicated 80,000 hours of his life to spread the gospel for nothing. I'm glad I'm just repeating. Consult the doctor. This is why you should consult the doctor before starting a medication. I don't. That sounds like some stuff that I'm not keeping up with. But anyway, I'm going to keep going with the stream. Thank you all for making the chat so lit tonight. I appreciate each and every one of you. If you're new to the stream, thank you for joining. Please hit that like, that bell. But especially if you're new, hit that subscribe button so you get all the updates to these videos. The other thing is, if you're here and you're in the stream and you haven't hit the like button, could you do me a solid and just do that? It helps me. It encourages me to keep making these videos because it helps more people see them. And the more the people that see them, the more encouraged I get to continue to do these videos. So I appreciate each and everyone who's already done that. I'm sure most of you have. All right, so the next topic that they covered was on the topic of risk. So they're just trying, again, they're trying to give investors as much information that they can about Eli Lilly and the future of their company, so that they can make informed decisions about where to invest their money, right? So the question was on the topic of risk, and does Lilly see risk in tirzepatide SURMOUNT-2 studies? And so basically what they're asking is like, are you sure this is in the bag, or is there risk because you're worried about something? And his answer to that question was that the SURMOUNT-2 studies are going to be really easy to predict the outcomes because they're going to be so close to the SURPASS studies. The SURPASS study, for those of you who don't know what all this means, they label these different studies different names, but basically the SURPASS study is what showed the results of tirzepatide and how it affected reducing blood glucose levels and promoting weight loss in type 2 diabetic patients. And because the drug was generally well tolerated, although there are some side effects that we all know about and make videos about and blah, 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 the findings did lead to tirzepatide's ultimate approval for the FDA. I think it was September of 2021 is when they finally approved it and got on the market, I think June of 22. So what he's saying here is like the outcomes of that study pretty much predict what the outcomes of this study are going to do. The main difference is it's going to be testing it on people without type 2 diabetes. And anecdotally, I think what we can all expect because of the billions of people that are talking about it online is people without diabetes do even better on it. Perhaps maybe more of the side effects, but seems like they lose more weight too. So just my own personal commentary there. So on the topic of NASH, Cutie Pie, I hope you're still here. So NASH, or fatty liver, which leads to NASH, which can, I think, lead ultimately to cirrhosis of the liver. I'm not the expert on all this, so definitely do your own research here. But the topic of NASH came up because this was another thing that they were thinking maybe was another backdoor into getting Mounjaro, another way to getting it differential access to Mounjaro through Medicare. And basically the answer was this. So NASH is apparently a very difficult condition to study. So the expense of the studies that are done goes through the roof for something like NASH. And this isn't a political commentary. This is obviously the drug manufacturer's position is that the the Inflation Reduction Act, the IRA, that was passed this last year, really put a damper, basically capping drug prices and they would argue encouraging lawsuits. It just did some things that are making the drug manufacturers more gun shy of doing these types of studies. So while he didn't come out and say directly that he didn't anticipate ultimate approval for NASH, what he said is that they really see Mounjaro as more of a prophylactic to getting NASH, because so many of these conditions, and he touched on this, we tend to put like diabetics in one box, type 2 diabetics in one box, and obesity patients in another box, and then sleep apnea patients over here, and heart failure people here, NASH people over here. But the reality is they're all sharing a lot of these different comorbidities. So they're different, but in a lot of ways they're the same. And so it was just interesting to hear him kind of put it in that light. And they really see Mounjaro's wide, let's call it mass adoption by doctors to promoting it for all these other things it's approved for as being more of a prophylactic for the treatment of NASH. Now I know I'm going to pause because BJ Davis did a great video with a friend of his who has been taking Mounjaro off label to treat her NASH. And that is a really great video. She gives her firsthand account of how it's helped her. And so my recommendation, if you want to watch a good video after this one on the topic of NASH, check out BJ Davis's page, his YouTube channel, and also give him a like and a sub while you're there. Let's see. So that's really the main thing for the updates. There was one other thing before I get to the chat and we interact for a few minutes here. I feel like every one of these updates from Lilly, somebody says like a little bit too much. Like, I don't know that you want that floating out there as the company line. But he said, he was asked the question basically like, in 10 years, where do you see Lilly positioned in the marketplace as it relates to incretin medicines treating type 2 diabetes and obesity? And he's like, I think what people underestimate is how much people will pay for these drugs without the help of the government and without the help of their insurance. And I just thought like, that sucks to hear, because these medications are affordable for very few people outside of the help for that. But, I get what he's saying, because you literally can't go on a single forum without somebody raising their hand and going, I'd pay $2,000 a month for this, or I'd pay $3,000 a month for this. I'll gladly pay the $1,200 or the $500 or the $600 or the whatever. For most people, that prices them right out of the ability to ever have the medicine. So I just feel like I wish that they would take more of an advocacy position. And they are. They're talking about TROA. They're talking about how people are advocating for themselves, how they're learning about the medicines, how they're doing things like we're doing on this stream. They do highlight those things, but comments like that really grate against me, because there's so many people who need these. And when you're talking about accessibility, there should just be a more maybe measured response to a question like that. So that's my own personal commentary on it. I'm a PR guy, I'm a marketing guy. I would not say that kind of thing. But, this guy's probably a lot smarter than I am, been in his position for a long time, knows what he can and can't say. It just rubbed me the wrong way. So that's the update. That's the whole thing. It wasn't even that long of a call. It was, I want to say, maybe a half an hour tops. It was really bad audio, but I feel like I got the main things that are going to be, the big takeaways from this specific call. That said, I want to come back to the chat. I'm not going to try to keep up with it where everybody's been for the last 10 minutes while I've been going off. But if you have questions, or if you'd like to interact with me directly, please, now's your time to put that in the chat. I can go another 15 or 20 minutes, or if we feel like we've done it all, that's great here. But if you specifically address me in your comments here in the chat, I will gladly, I'll gladly respond. So I just want to kind of welcome Amen Abelhater. This is a Twitch viewer who is offering me some really great growth on my Twitch channel. Well, thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. I got excited for a second that somebody was watching on Twitch. It's just a chat bot. Appreciate you anyway. See here. Vanessa said, what's coming? The drop in sales? I got a good stash of compound tirzepatide, Ozempic, and Rybelsus. I don't trust Novo to keep up with demand. I don't know. I think as more of these competitors come online, like as Mounjaro comes online, and let's call it the next 12 months, as Mounjaro comes online for the treatment of obesity, it's gonna, it's gonna level out the production. I think like a lot of this hasn't been capacity issues. Like, I won't speak for Novo because I don't follow Novo like I do Lilly. But when you talk about the don't Twitch, they'll come for you. I think they already have. With Lilly, I don't really think that the shortages that they've had have been a true manufacturing, like, supply chain shortage. What I think it's been rather is that they had no good data to go on to predict what doses people would stay on or start on, what they would camp out on, what they might go back to. If you read the forums, like very few doctors have actually followed the prescribed dosage schedule from Lilly. And to their credit, some of that has been because of the supply issues that people have had. I think what you've had really are issues with distribution and how to get the right doses in the right places. And what you've had is just an inability to predict the various dosages. Like if Mounjaro was just like, like metformin, it was like either 500 milligrams or it was 1,000, then that's very easy to predict. But 2.5, 5, 7.5, 10, 12.5, 15, that's just, I don't know how necessary all that was. And, I'll be interested to see what they come up with for the weight loss, whether they because they didn't test it that way. They tested, I think, like 5, 10, 15. Don't quote me. I can't remember it, but I've read this before and it wasn't 2.5, 5, 7.5, 10. So anyways, yeah, that's just my kind of take on it. Jamie hit a, welcome to the stream, by the way, hit a stall second month on 12.5. Yeah, I hit a stall in February on 15, and I had to switch it up, and I had to do something different. So I got on Weight Watchers, and I've been on it a little over a week now, down 8 pounds. So it broke the stall. I'm a big advocate for switching it up, do something different, try something new. So yeah. Somebody's making high 6 figures to forecast this stuff. For sure. And I'm not excusing it, but it's also a lot easier to forecast when you have data. So I think the future is probably brighter when it comes to that stuff. Everyone's already planning to swap to Ozempic and Wegovy due to insurance not wanting to cover. And that's another thing that's just very predictable, is how very unpredictable is how people will navigate that. Vanessa said, "Oh, Dave, didn't you hear about dosage? A girl was on Mounjaro and due to stock was off for 2 months. Her doctor told her she would be fine on 10 milligrams, so she took it and has been puking for 3 days." I mean, anecdotally, I'm sure you can find a lot of that kind of stuff. And I wouldn't recommend starting at 10 milligrams either. I'm just saying I don't know how the 2.5 step up. I don't know. We'll see. But I think that my point is, I mean, I'm not a doctor. I don't know, but I think it's definitely been a contributing factor to the issues that we've had and people being able to get the specific dose that they want to get. So. Any other questions in the stream? WT, thank you for joining. Themby, thank you for joining. I see some new names in here. Appreciate you all joining. Hi, Cheryl. I didn't see that you were in here. Thank you for joining. Some of our classics are all in here. Sandra, who is a member of the channel, thank you for joining. Specific shout out to you. Appreciate you. Thank you for each and everyone who has decided to invest back in the channel and become members and give back in that way. I appreciate that. AO just did me a solid and hit the like. I appreciate you. Thank you for that, AO. When I said it says on Eli Lilly, if you're off 14 days, you have to start at a lower dose. I've read the same thing too. Yes, creamy jalapeno. I saw her. She was in here. Is recommended dosage from EL. Yeah, Eli Lilly has like a whole block on their website that says, here's how you should start. Chrissy, welcome to the stream. Chrissy's in the stream and also a member of the Man on the Mounjaro channel. So thank you for being a member. If you are joining tonight and you would like access to exclusive Man on the Mounjaro content, hey, if you're a member in the stream, can you show us some of your exclusive emojis that you get to use? Just lay them on one. I added some new ones the other night. So if you'd like access to exclusive Man on the Mounjaro emojis, if you would like to be part of these live streams, there's another level now that you can join, and I'll bring you into these live streams. So you get a link to each of these live streams. You'll sit in the green room, and you'll bring you on, and you can ask your questions that way. Dave, we got to help you become a billionaire so that you can buy out Eli Lilly. Yeah, like just the Mounjaro Elon Musk. I'll be like Elon Musk. I am a rocket man like Elon Musk. It's just that I know how to use Photoshop and he knows how to make rockets that go to Mars. I think it's pretty much the same thing, though. I think it's pretty much like I would like to consider myself the Elon Musk of Mounjaro YouTube. Yes, seeing those emojis. Thank you. Yeah, so those are emojis that only members like Jeannie, Sandra, Melissa, Chrissy, Susie YouTube, like those members get to use. But yeah, I try to give you a little bit more to become members, some exclusive videos, some exclusive personal updates of my own journey that are there. I need to get back on that. I've been traveling a lot for work, but got some good plans for that side of the channel. And again, it helps me kind of just keep this thing going. Cheryl took her last shot of Mounjaro yesterday, not waiting on my compound to start next week. I'm a little nervous. Cheryl, if you wouldn't mind, Cutie Pie, thanks for the super sticker. I appreciate you. Cheryl said that she's waiting on compounds. If you wouldn't mind, Cheryl, do you know where your compound came from? The main compound pharmacy that I keep hearing about is South Lake in Florida. And it seems to be, I know some reputable, nurse practitioners that use that pharmacy, and they'll ship nationwide. So people have asked me about compound medicines. I honestly don't know that much about them. I know that it's one of those topics that people kind of get a little bent on one way or the other. There's definitely danger because compound medications do not have the same checks and balances that like your Mounjaro pen does. They don't have to go through nearly the process to get, the product into somebody's hands. So there is more risk involved theoretically, but people, you ever heard of Vioxx? Yeah, drug companies don't have clean hands on that. No pun intended either. Cheryl says she knows someone, or Vanessa said, Cheryl, I know someone on the compound. They said they can't tell the difference. Like it's compound tirzepatide, and I believe that I've heard from one source that that South Lake gets its compound their tirzepatide from Merck. I don't have any way to vet that. But if it's coming from Merck, that's pretty reputable. And, but without testing it, you don't know. It's not like you can know for sure. I mean, you can't, to a certain extent, know for sure with your Mounjaro either. But, there's risk. The main thing when it comes to compound medications, I never intended to talk about compound medications, but here we are. Talk to your doctor. Your doctor is going to have the right reputable source to go to the right place to get it, so that you're not getting some sort of bootleg Mounjaro. You're getting tirzepatide. And compound medications are if you don't know what compound medications are, basically there's pharmacies, sterile pharmacies can make injectable medications that are compounded. So like if you just think about what the word compound means, it means multiple, right? So it's one drug mixed with another one to make a compound medication. So typically you're going to get tirzepatide, or even semaglutide is probably even more popular in compound form, and you're going to get it mixed with a B vitamin. Some places have mixed it with B6 to help with energy and B12 to help with nausea. I might have got that flip-flop, but yeah, that's what compound medication is. Let's see, Stonegate Pharmacy in Austin, Texas, Cheryl said she got that from. So yeah, maybe if you're talking to your doctor and they say, I don't know of one, maybe have them check out Stonegate Pharmacy, or like I said, South Lake in Florida as well. Jay Barrick, welcome to the stream. I don't think I recognize that name. If you're here for the first time, welcome. Hit that like, hit that bell, hit that sub. Appreciate you. I'm in week 6, down 21 pounds, type 2, have Medicare Advantage health insurance. When I reach stage 3, my monthly cost for Mounjaro goes from 47 to 275. Blood sugars and blood pressure improved. Good for you. Glad that you're seeing success there. Sandra loved Vioxx. I wish they would bring it back. Sue said, I'm going to do 6 months of Mounjaro out of pocket. When the coupon runs out, my pharmacy has been great. Sue, don't say the quiet part out loud. Sandra, if I buy insurance through my job, I would have Mounjaro covered. I need to weigh the cost. Yep. A lot of people are basically there. It's like, you go with the less expensive option, and then you realize there's a drug you can't live without, and now all of a sudden it might be worth it because it's cheaper than paying out of pocket. And I said another compound pharmacy called ACA. I think it's in Tennessee. Yeah. So check them out. That's the main thing, is do your research and make sure that it's a reputable source. What am I getting in semaglutide with B12? Think you're getting semaglutide and B12. I don't know. I don't think your question meant to sound that obvious. So if you can clarify. Abby, thanks for the super sticker. You're too kind. It's Abby's birthday and she's giving me stickers. Bless your heart. Thank you. Shelly, who's joining on Facebook, said, since starting Mounjaro 5 months ago, it has improved my NASH liver enzymes are going down. So one of the things that I discovered, so I have NAFLD, which is different than NASH. NAFLD is non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, which oftentimes goes hand in hand with metabolic disorders like type 2 diabetics, of which I am a type 2 diabetic. So it's measured kind of by your ALT and your AST, which are liver enzymes. I was able to reverse those with diet within about a month when I started my keto diet, when I started my type 2 diabetes journey. So I am assuming that those are still good, but I need to get those checked out again. Thank you for joining on Facebook, Shelly. If you wouldn't mind hitting the like button there. We're getting a little bit more interaction on Facebook tonight than we normally do, which is exciting for me because I put a fair amount of work into Facebook. So yeah, if you wouldn't mind hitting that like button and sharing it into any forums you're in, I appreciate you. Thank you for joining. Creamy Jalapeno said, I like Mounjaro, has saved me tons of money on food costs. I've said the same thing too. Like, and again, I feel like we're saying all the things that Lilly monitors for and goes, yep, we're going to make the weight loss Mounjaro cost $2,000. But it is what it is. It's something that changes your life, and we go, yeah, it's worth it. I'll take a second job. I'll do what I can to stay on the Mounjaro. But I agree, yeah, like I'm saving a lot of money in food costs alone, for sure. Especially like the eating out, that adds up very fast. The DoorDash, that kind of stuff that I just really don't do much of anymore has saved me a lot of money for sure. Vanessa said I don't spend much on takeout. Yep, same Z's. You misread Cheryl. She was talking about her compound. She wanted to know what kind of B vitamin that she got, because I think what she said was, what's in my semaglutide and B vitamin. So yeah, you'll have to ask them what B vitamin they compound it with if that's your question. Creamy says, I rarely get takeout and we stopped hemorrhaging money. Yeah. Oh, and those DoorDash stuff, like I'm on the road for work here and I got here kind of late and I got a headache and I know it's because I haven't eaten since breakfast this morning because I've just been work. And I'm looking at DoorDash. I'm like, it's going to cost me like $50 to get some chicken wings or a Caesar salad. It's crazy. Thank you, Shelly, for doing that. Yeah, another happy birthday shout out to Abby. It's also Cutie Pie's birthday? You're kidding me. Happy birthday. And both of you gave me super stickers tonight. I feel terrible. Happy birthday to both of you. Both great, wonderful members of our subscribers of the channel. Abby's a member. Thank you both. And happy birthday to you. And Cutie Pie is an active member over in BJ Davis's Discord, which I don't think I've properly plugged tonight. So make sure that you check out the link in the description to BJ's Discord. We love BJ's Discord. Hopefully that link isn't expired. If it is, I'll change it. Janetta, welcome to the stream. I don't think I've seen, maybe I did see your name earlier in the stream. My insurance coverage is great. Anthem, BCBS, cover 97% for Mounjaro, copay 25. We got type 2. We've got to be type 2. Insurance covers all weight loss meds too. And you are not type 2, right, Janetta? I don't think you're type 2 diabetic. Dave, it does add up. What are we talking about again? Are we talking about the drive-through money and the DoorDash money? I think that's what we're talking about. And it legitimately adds up crazy. AO, man, it's moving too fast for me to keep up with. AO, I think you're new to the stream as well, so welcome. What exactly is compound? How can they make it if it's patented? It's like the $1 million question. Actually, it's probably a $1 billion question at this point, to be honest with you. What exactly is the compound? So compound is a generic word for any medicine that is combined with another medicine from a specialty pharmacy called a compound pharmacy. A compound pharmacy takes mixtures of the active ingredients in drugs and puts them together for people who have allergies or like people who can't, like sometimes people are allergic to specific preservatives or dyes and colorings, things like that. A pharmacy that is a compound pharmacy is just taking the active ingredients, putting them together. What we don't always know is where those ingredients are coming from. How can they make it if it's patented? Their workaround is compounding them. So when you mix something with another thing, then it becomes a compound medication. And that's, I think, how they get around it. But I've called around to compound pharmacies in my area, and they say they don't want to touch it because of the potential issues with patents. So I think it's messy at best, but I think also Lilly probably isn't that concerned about compound medications right now. They can't keep enough of their own stuff on their shelves. So I think they probably know that, hey, people get on the compound stuff, it's only going to make them want the real stuff in the long term. We'll see. I don't know. And I think at best it is a very gray area when it comes to the patent issue. And I don't know. That's why I don't advocate for it necessarily. But it is an option that's out there, so we kind of have to talk about it, right? Cutie Pie became a member of the channel. Thank you so much, Cutie Pie, for being a member of the channel. I appreciate you. Thank you for doing that. If you also would like to become a member of Man on the Mounjaro, follow the link in the description. Chrissy, I would just hate it if you were starving and overate. Oh, that, you know what she's talking about? That's because we got a little friendly cousin wager going on about who can lose the most weight by Easter. So yeah, maybe I'll just go to bed after the stream, Chrissy. What about that? I'll tell you what I'm not going to eat. I'm not going to eat cottage cheese. Cutie Pie, I also reversed my NASH since taking Mounjaro. That's amazing. That's amazing because I'm not well studied on NASH, but Cutie Pie, isn't NASH a very hard thing to reverse? I think it is. Janetta said, but I had to get sorry as Wegovy approved. I wouldn't say it's sorry. And Janetta, if you missed the beginning of the stream, I can't remember if you did or not. They're testing 7.4 or 7.5, I can't remember now, milligrams of Wegovy in tests now, which is like 3 times what they have available right now. Sorry, I'm just trying to keep up. Thank you for becoming a member, Cutie Pie. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Can I put that up? No. Hunter, 2576. Welcome to the stream. Don't remember that. Well, maybe I do. Maybe I do remember that name on another stream, but not very many. So thank you for joining. I got my first shot today of semaglutide compounded with B12. Awesome. How's it going? How you feeling? I hope that, did you get it today or did you take it today? If you took it today, let us know how you're feeling. I know like the B12 is supposed to fight nausea. So it sounds like a pretty great thing to mix semaglutide with, because that's like the main thing people complain about. And people who switch from Mounjaro to semaglutide, that's their biggest thing, is like, I didn't have very many side effects with Mounjaro and I do with Ozempic or Wegovy. And the reverse is true. People who come over from Mounjaro to Mounjaro from Wegovy or Ozempic always say there's less side effects with Mounjaro for whatever reason. Chrissy says, please eat your body needs calories. You won't lose effectively without enough. I hear you. I didn't not eat on purpose. I didn't eat because I didn't have time. Because I'm here with you all, right? Right? But this is where I'd rather be. I'll eat when I'm done. So we're at an hour now on this stream. I appreciate each and every one of you for joining tonight. Thank you so much for being the best part of this channel. Thank you to Cutie Pie, who became a member and also gave me a super chat. Abby, who sent the super chat my way. That's so kind of you. I appreciate you so much, giving back to the stream. You guys are so great. I can't say enough about each and every one of you. I appreciate you. With that said, if nobody has any more pressing questions, we're going to go ahead and wrap the stream up. But I just thank you. Thank you all for being the best part of this channel. Thank you for making this all so worth it. And we're going to catch you on the next stream. Thank you so much for joining. And we'll catch you this weekend, Friday Night Live. Don't forget to tune in. We got a special show for you coming up Friday Night Live every Friday night, So if you're new to this stream tonight, we do a live stream every Friday night. Put it in the chat if you like Friday Night Live. Let everybody know what they're missing by not being there. It's at 9 p.m. Central, Friday night, every Friday night. Yeah, let them know what they're missing, folks. Appreciate each and every one of you. Thanks for joining. If you're about to check out, make sure you hit that like button before you leave. And thank you so much for joining.